Okay, so it's time for us to go ahead and get back into our coverage over Generation X. Now, we're only covering a two-part story arc that takes place in issues number 8 and issue number 9. Now, this two-part story arc is literally picking up where our last video left off at when it came to Generation X. So the whole idea that Sean Cassidy, better known as Banshee, his family castle had just disappeared out of nowhere. He got a phone call saying like, hey, your castle is gone. We have no idea where it went to. And so as we get into the opening pages of the storyline, it's really more of us seeing our heroes arrive where the castle used to be at and kind of realize like, yeah, it's not there. Now, for our heroes, they're not the only ones trying to investigate what happened to Cassidy Keep, because you also have Black Air there. Now, we have talked a few times about Black Air because around this time in Marvel Comics, they were just brand new, like literally brand new, because they had replaced an old organization known as WHO. And WHO stand for Weird Happening Organization. They would go around the world to investigate weird things happening across the world. But WHO is no longer around. Now you only have Black Air, who had took up that mantle. And so for Black Air, they're kind of like, hey, we're just here doing the same thing as well, trying to figure out what happened to your home, Cassidy Keep. Now, while they are talking, we kind of switch our focus on to Sync, because for Sync, he has the ability to copy other people's powers. Here's the catch though. It's all about his aura. His aura has to connect to the other person to allow him to copy their abilities. Now, for Sync and the rest of the team right now, they're seeing this green mist. But for Sync, his aura is kind of showing him all these different images in the green mist of a different reality, a different dimension. And so for Sync, he's kind of wondering, what is his aura trying to tell him? But then out of nowhere, he does touch the mist. And when he does, he's pulled into it. Now, Chamber, he does follow Sync to hopefully save him. But unfortunately, Chamber is also pulled in as well. And so just like that, we had just lost two heroes in a matter of seconds. And you already know where this is going, because you do have the rest of the team kind of like, okay, we just lost like two of our teammates. We got to follow them and get them back over here. Now, you do have Black Air saying like, nah, listen, this is now a government situation. I can't allow you guys to get involved. But you have Banshee being able to knock them out, the Black Air agents, and go ahead and jump into the mist as well. And they disappear just like that. Now they're all going into a different dimension that's going to lead into our two-part story arc. But before we jump over into the other dimension, we do see somebody else who is watching over Banshee and the rest of the team. But this person's main focus is Banshee, nobody else. Now we have no idea who the person is just yet, but he will play a major role in a later storyline. Now, before we jump into this other dimension, we jump to the other side of the world, and we pick up with two characters, Cordelia Frost and also Mondo. Now, these are two characters, unfortunately, we have not learned much about them just yet, and technically, I feel like we have learned a whole lot more about Mondo thanks to Age of Apocalypse when it comes to this part of our coverage over the X-Men. But in this reality, we don't know much about him nor Cordelia. All we know is that they're on some kind of tropical island. Now for Cordelia, she does jump into the water and then out of nowhere, she disappears. And so for Mondo, he begins to freak out. The problem is that when he goes to look for her, something attacks him. And that's it. That's all we see them for this two-part story arc. But getting back over to our heroes, they do arrive in some other dimension. Now, here's the thing. Chamber and Sync are not there, but you do have the rest of the team together. Now, for Emma Frost, before they had jumped in, I kind of forgot to mention this, she did realize that the green mist is actually sentient. And so it's kind of like, okay, it has some kind of life behind it. But when you do have our heroes arrive in this other dimension, they're all now wearing different outfits, but they all realize that the air here is very limited. But then out of nowhere, you do have the entire group get knocked out. Now for Sync and Chamber, they're fighting against some Dark Knights who were trying to kill off some elves. Here's the thing, because for Sync, in the middle of the battle, he kind of realized that his powers are evolving. You see, usually for Sync, he has to mentally activate his aura to allow him to sync to other people. But right now, his aura is kind of acting on its own. And right now, he is perfectly synced to Chambers. And so right now you have the two characters being able to work together perfectly because they're synced to one another. But either way, you do have our heroes be able to take down the Dark Knights. Now, after doing that, you have the elves be all happy, want to celebrate, have a good old time. But then they say, hey, you know what, guys? We need to go home. And you have the elves say like, yeah, you know what? We can help you get back home, actually. Just follow us. Now, we do transition over to Emma Frost and also Banshee. Now, these two characters, they're just waking up and realizing that the rest of the team is missing, but also that, like, they're chained to a wall. Now, you do have our heroes being able to break free, but after doing that, you did have the book kind of remind us that around this time in Marvel Comics, you had Marvel kind of seeing if fans would care of the possibility of Banshee and also Emma Frost dating one another. Now, of course, we haven't seen it just yet, but it kind of like, you know, we're getting close to that point where it could possibly happen. Now, you do have our heroes break themselves free and say, you know what, let's find the rest of our team. Now, while trying to do that, they run into another character, and that would be Amon O'Donnell. Now, we have not seen him in like a very long time, since Uncanny X-Men number 103. And the thing is, for him, he is the keeper to Cassidy's home. And so for Banshee's kind of like, hey, Amon, it's great to see you. What in the world is going on here? Now for Amon, he tells our heroes like, listen, our main goal right now is to get back to your castle before it goes back to Earth without us. Meaning that we gotta find the rest of your team and hurry up and get back to your castle before we get left behind. Now, for the rest of our heroes, they were taken away by a fairy known as Grande Dame. Now, for this fairy, her main goal is to save her dimension. And she says right now, her dimension is slowly losing life force. And the reason why? Because of the glamour machine. And she says somebody has to fix the machine as a way to bring back the life force into this dimension. Now, she does try her best to trick our heroes by saying like, you guys are the chosen ones. I have this ancient scroll that shows that you are the chosen ones. Now for Skin, he realized that she is right now trying to play a game right now because the scroll was just freshly painted on by somebody, most likely her. But she said, hey, listen, you're right. I tried to trick you, but in reality, we do need your help right now. The only way to save this dimension is if that machine is fixed. But then out of nowhere, you have Monet just freeze in her tracks. Now, we have seen this before where you have Monet just freeze in her tracks and she's unable to move, unable to communicate with anybody else at all. She goes in some kind of state of mind where she's completely focused on something happening around her. And so we see Monet right now just examining the machine in front of her and trying the best way to fix the machine. Now, while you do have the lady trying to do that, you have Skin realize that somebody is knocking on the door. And so you have Skin say, you know what, fine, I'll go ahead and answer the door. Except when he does, Homeboy is confronted by a dragon. He's kind of like, can this day get any worse at all? And so now we jump into issue number 9. And so it's really more Skin just trying to figure out how to handle this situation, because now you are talking about the idea of facing a dragon. Now, for this dragon, he wants to make sure the machine does not get fixed because he's now the ruler of this dimension. And so the machine gets fixed, it's kind of like, okay, that's not cool. The life force is back, and now the fairies and the elves can have all fun again. Now for Skin, give him props here because the dude tried his best to figure out how to handle the situation because he's technically on his own here. The rest of the gang is trying to fix the machine at the moment. Now, you do have Pennis there, and for Pennis, she's just standing there very confused like, how in the world do I get involved in this situation to kind of help out? Now, for Skin, he's trying his best to find a weapon. Unfortunately, he can't find a weapon. So it's kind of like, what can Skin do to stop this dragon? It doesn't help when the dragon begins to laugh at you as well as you tell the dragon like, hey, you know what? I'm going to stop you. Because to the dragon, he's like, dude, you're a regular dude. There's no way you're going to be able to stop me. Now, for Amon, Banshee, and also Emma Frost, they're still trying their best to make it over to the rest of the team. So you see them right now trying to get out of the dungeon. Unfortunately for our heroes, they do run into some kind of huge troll who basically blocks their path. But before they meet that troll, you do have our two characters once again kind of give us the idea of the possibility of these two characters dating down the road, because they do argue. You have Iman say like, you guys deserve one another. Now, lucky for Banshee and also Emma Frost that Sync and also Chambers were nearby, because you have those two characters still with the L's. And the L said like, yeah, we'll take you home, not your home, but to our home, which works out because their home is nearby where Banshee and also Emma Frost is currently at. And so you have Sync and Chambers hear the scream of Banshee, and you have our two young heroes blow a hole in the wall. And once they do that, the wall parts fall down on top of the troll, allowing the troll to be defeated, but now our four characters were able to regroup with one another. But getting back over to the machine, you do have Monet try to continue to fix the machine. Now, for Husk and also Jubilee, they open up a door that leads inside the machine. But when they do that, it allows them to regroup with the rest of the gang. So Banshee, Emma Frost, Chambers, and Sync. That door they found earlier was a door that leads out of the machine. So now most of the party had regrouped. Now Skin and Penis, they're still dealing with the dragon. Matter of fact, no one realized what they're trying to deal with at the moment. And this kind of leads into the story being wrapped up very quickly, because you do have Monet being able to get out of that weird state of mind where she's now able to communicate. And when she does, she said, listen, your machine is working. It only needs some energy. Now, the question is right now, which hero is able to give that energy the machine needs to actually work? And of course, it would be Chambers, because remember, he is pure psionic energy at the moment. And so with them in that energy, he can basically power the machine to begin to work again, to bring the life force back into this dimension. And so you have Chambers go inside to use his psionic energy. And once he does, bam, just like that, the machine begins to work again. Now, once you do have machine fixed, you do have Skin and also Penis come back, where we kind of find out they did work together to bring down the dragon, but technically it was Penis who took down the dragon, not Skin. But the day is saved. Now, the story does end on the note where you do have Monet kind of being upset with herself. And the reason why, because for Monet, she kind of hates the idea that basically she was not really helpful in this situation, because she kind of puts a lot of pressure on herself. And so to have something be handled by Chambers and not really her, and really the possibility of our heroes, her team, being able to figure out things without her, it kind of does bother her a lot. But either way, this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.